Yeah, so it was sort of overwhelming, and I've done the complete life cycle, where I qualify it as the love, the hate, the equilibrium, then the slide, where maybe only you notice it's sliding, and then the descent, where it's sand through the fingers, and then the without. Or are you ever really without fame? Can you ever not be famous again?
Everyone believed Justine Bateman was headed straight to the top after Family Ties blew up. She looked like the next unstoppable movie star, the kind Hollywood builds careers around. But instead of leveling up, she slowly vanished from the spotlight, and for years people whispered theories. It wasn't drugs, it wasn't chaos, it wasn't some messy scandal. The truth was darker and way more uncomfortable. Her agents came to her with a deal she couldn't accept. They wanted her to erase part of who she was just to stay employed, and that crossed a line she couldn't ignore. She actually sat down with surgeons. She thought about it seriously, weighed the pressure, felt the fear, felt the threat hanging over her career. And then she did something Hollywood didn't expect. She walked away from everything. Years later, in 2021, she finally spoke openly about that moment. And what she revealed sparked a shift that's still shaking the industry today. Justine Bateman was born on February 19, 1966, in Rye, New York. Her mom, Victoria, worked as a Pan Am flight attendant, which meant travel and stories from all over the world were normal in their house. Victoria was born in Malta and raised in England, so the home carried a quiet British edge that made it feel different from everyone else's. Her father, Kent Bateman, lived deep inside the acting world. He worked as an acting coach and theatrical manager, and their house was never calm or quiet. Actors were always coming through, scripts were everywhere, and conversations about auditions and careers filled every room. This wasn't a normal childhood, not even close. By the time Justine was just 2 years old, she was already hearing rehearsals and watching auditions unfold in her own living room. 4 years later, her younger brother Jason was born, and before anyone realized it, he was pulled into that same high-pressure world. Hollywood would later label them a rare sibling duo, both glowing under one roof, both molded by that same restless, ambitious energy. By age 4, Justine's life was already packed with goodbyes. The family moved non-stop as her father chased bigger opportunities. They lived in Salt Lake City, then jumped across California again and again. She went to 5 different elementary schools across 3 states, never staying long enough to feel settled. Before she even turned 12, all that moving shaped her in deep ways. She became sharp at reading people fast, learning how to blend in wherever she landed. But behind that skill was a kid who never felt rooted anywhere. She kept adjusting herself just to survive, and that habit slowly turned into perfectionism and a fierce need to stay in control. Home life only added more pressure. Kent believed in strict training, and by the time Justine was 8, she and Jason were on rigid daily schedules. Not chores, not playtime, but script reading, voice drills, and networking events. Dinner conversations weren't about cartoons or school drama. They were about acting strategy and career positioning. It got even heavier because Kent kept written records. He rated their looks, their confidence, and shared those notes with agents. He even timed their auditions and compared the 2 siblings side by side. When Jason landed a major role on Little House on the Prairie at just 10 years old, the pressure exploded. Justine was only 12 and already carrying expectations most adults would crack under. That's where the anxiety really took root. She felt like every move was a test she had to pass, no room for mistakes. Public school didn't make things easier either. While other kids in the spotlight had private tutors, her parents pushed regular school to keep life normal. Instead, it just made things harder, with teachers treating her differently and the pressure never letting up. Other students went after her hard. Some kids teased her openly, saying her parents were fake, or that her whole family was just acting normal for show. Birthday parties and sleepovers started disappearing from her life because some parents didn't want their kids too close to anything connected to Hollywood. In 4th grade, things got cruel fast. Kids made up a nasty little game where they mocked her and called her Hollywood Justine, turning her name into a joke meant to embarrass her. They copied her voice, exaggerated her movements, and laughed whenever she tried out for school plays. On the outside, she learned how to stay calm and quiet, like nothing bothered her. But inside, it hit deep. That feeling of not fitting in never really left her. Even years later, in friendly rooms with friendly faces, she sometimes felt like she was still acting, still playing a part instead of just being herself. When she turned 13, the family finally stopped moving and settled in Los Angeles. They chose the San Fernando Valley, so auditions and industry events were right there. Her father knew the timing mattered, Both kids were hitting the perfect age for teen television roles, and he wasn't about to slow down now. Within 6 months, Justine signed with the same agency as Jason. In the industry, people called it a sibling package deal, and it gave them leverage right out of the gate. Negotiations moved faster, doors opened quicker, and Justine was officially in the game. In just her first 18 months in Los Angeles, she went to over 150 auditions. That number still sounds wild today. Her father tracked every single one, writing down what casting directors said, who else auditioned, and what Justine needed to fix. Their Woodland Hills home turned into a non-stop training zone. Kent ran acting sessions straight out of the living room, and Justine had no choice but to be there. Even after she started working, the pressure didn't ease up. At 15, in 1981, she landed her first professional job. It was a commercial, nothing flashy, but it was her official start. What nobody saw was how intense life got behind the scenes. California had strict rules for young actors, and her grades had to stay solid or the work stopped. That meant filming during the day and racing back to class right after. For most people, that pace would have been brutal. But for Justine, it became routine. Every hour had to matter. She learned how to juggle auditions, schoolwork, and deadlines like a pro way before most kids her age even understood time management. The pressure wasn't something she asked for, but it hardened her fast. She attended Taft High School in Woodland Hills, where teachers saw her raw talent, especially in drama class. Still, she didn't get a normal teenage life. While others went to dances, games, and weekend hangouts, she was on set or heading to another audition. Her teachers respected her stage presence, but classmates barely saw her around. She sacrificed parties, weekends, and downtime to chase something bigger. By 15, she was already making serious career calls, and that early sacrifice shaped how she later viewed fame and growing up under a spotlight. Even with talent, Hollywood didn't play fair. Between 1980 and 1981, rejection piled up fast. She auditioned for multiple TV pilots and didn't land them. Sometimes it had nothing to do with skill. Casting directors said she was too tall, wrong look, or simply not the type they wanted. It was crushing every single time she heard no. Each rejection didn't just sting emotionally, it also meant less money coming into the household, and that pressure hit hard. Still, every setback made her tougher, sharper, and more prepared for what was coming next. Those early lessons in rejection trained her for an industry that can turn icy overnight, even when you're winning. In 1981, things finally shifted a little. Justine landed a small role on Little House on the Prairie, the same show where her younger brother Jason had already made a name for himself. Jason was only 12 and already had a steady spot, while Justine, even though she was older, was still fighting to be noticed. But that experience mattered way more than people realized. Being on that set wasn't just about reading lines. She had to understand a whole different time period, how people moved, talked, and reacted back then. Every tiny detail counted. She studied the rhythm of the show, respected the craft, and watched seasoned actors like Michael Landon closely. She learned how professionals carried themselves, how to adjust fast when directors changed things up, and how to lock scripts into memory without panic. That quiet education set her up for her next move, the one that changed everything. In 1982, Justine Bateman was just 16 years old when she landed the role of Mallory Keaton on NBC's Family Ties. At first, Mallory was written as a smart, capable character. That was the plan. But during early test screenings, something unexpected happened. Audiences laughed harder when Justine leaned into Mallory being a little clueless. The network noticed immediately. They made a bold move and rewrote the character completely. Mallory became the classic dumb blonde type, and the laughs came fast. The role exploded in popularity, but it also locked Justine into a version of Mallory she never chose for herself. The twist was that in real life, Justine was incredibly intelligent. Years later, she would even earn a computer science degree from UCLA. But back then, none of that mattered. The public only saw the silly, surface-level version that played on screen. By 1984, Family Ties had turned into a full-blown television giant. In just 2 years, it went from being overlooked to ranking 5th in the entire country. Justine and Michael J. Fox had electric chemistry, and their scenes pulled in millions of viewers week after week. She started earning around $10,000 per episode across 7 seasons and appeared in more than 170 episodes. On paper, it looked like a dream run. But behind the scenes, the shine was fading fast. The show leaned heavily on recycled storylines. Michael's character, Alex, would mess up, apologize, and repeat the cycle. That formula worked for ratings, but Justine wanted more. She pushed for deeper, more emotional arcs for Mallory, but those stories never came. As the spotlight shifted more toward Michael J. Fox and Alex's rise, Mallory slowly got pushed aside. What started as a balanced family series quietly turned into The Alex Show. Even the parents, played by Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter, had less to do. Justine's character got stuck in the same shallow jokes. Shopping, boyfriends, being clueless over and over again. She felt boxed in and frustrated. She wanted to grow, to stretch herself, but the scripts wouldn't allow it. Even though the cast had moments of fun, joking around and playing with water guns on set, the tension was real. Meredith Baxter felt it too, and she wasn't happy either. The smiles didn't erase the growing creative frustration building behind the scenes. She could feel it clearly now. Her role was shrinking. While Michael J. Fox's movie career was taking off fast, Justine felt stuck in place, watching doors open for others while hers stayed half closed. In December 1983, she won the Young Artist Award for Best Young Actress in a Comedy Series. The ceremony was hosted by her brother, Justine Bateman, alongside River Phoenix. She smiled for the cameras, but behind that smile, something darker had already started creeping in. Fame hit her like a wave she couldn't escape. Paparazzi followed her everywhere. Teen magazines picked apart her looks, her clothes, her life. She was still a teenager, but every move she made was watched and judged. She later said the total loss of privacy made her miserable. Awards didn't save her from losing her sense of normal life. She was becoming famous and unhappy at the exact same time. By 1984, Family Ties was pulling in over 20 million viewers every single week. Justine was now a household name, but her personal world kept shrinking. Strangers stopped her constantly. She couldn't go out like a regular girl anymore. Her freedom was gone. Even while earning Emmy nominations and praise, she felt something inside her slowly cracking under the pressure. She started looking ahead, and the future didn't feel hopeful. From 1985 to 1987, the show stayed on top, and Justine showed up every time. She filmed all 176 episodes without missing a beat. But in 1986, she made a bold move at just 20 years old. She directed an episode of the show. That was rare, especially for a young woman in Hollywood at the time. And that experience gave her a glimpse of a different future, one behind the camera making decisions instead of waiting for permission. She earned Emmy nominations in both 1986 and 1987. When her directed episode aired, more than 30 million people tuned in. On the surface, it looked like pure success, but inside, she was carrying heavy pain. Since the age of 16, Justine had been silently struggling with eating disorders, including anorexia, bulimia, and cycles of overeating. The pressure to look perfect was tearing her apart from the inside. She later shared that her body image was horrible. Magazines dissected her weight, strangers judged her appearance, and the stress never stopped. She filmed scenes while feeling dizzy from not eating, while the world still saw her as the cheerful Mallory. Sometimes she ran off set between scenes, sick and overwhelmed, hiding a battle no one wanted to talk about. The smile didn't mean she was okay. Still, she made smart career choices. In 1986, she took on more serious roles, including an appearance on St. Elsewhere. Her brother Jason appeared in the same episode. She was offered major movie roles worth $2 to $3 million, but she turned them down to stay loyal to Family Ties. She even took part in educational videos for teens, showing she cared about more than fame. Those serious roles proved she had range beyond comedy, but Hollywood barely paid attention. In 1987, she earned another Emmy nomination, only to lose to Estelle Getty from The Golden Girls. Many believed Justine deserved the win. She was just 21 years old and already nominated twice for the same role. But sitcoms weren't taken seriously. Critics dismissed comedy as easy, saying it wasn't real acting, so she walked away empty-handed again, even though audiences loved her. And then came the final blow. As Mallory Keaton headed off to college in the show's final seasons, Justine wanted to do the same in real life. She applied to college, ready to study and grow. But Paramount Studios stepped in and shut it down, blocking her plans and tightening the control even more. They flat out told her no. She was under contract, and that meant she had to keep filming, no matter what she wanted. The character on screen was allowed to learn, grow, and move forward. But the real young woman playing her wasn't given that same freedom. Justine later called that moment devastating, and the word fits perfectly. In 1989, Family Ties came to an end with a massive finale. More than 36 million people tuned in to watch the last episode. It became the 9th most watched series ending in television history. Justine delivered a powerful goodbye performance, and fans praised her everywhere. But the very next day, reality crashed down hard. She was suddenly unemployed. The biggest role of her life was over, and instead of doors opening, they slammed shut. Casting directors only saw one thing: Mallory. That single role turned into a cage she couldn't escape. Going into the 1990s, fear set in. She worried no one would ever see her differently, so she made a bold move and took a serious risk. She starred in Fatal Image, a dark thriller filmed in Paris. She played a woman who witnesses a murder and gets pulled into dangerous territory. It was the complete opposite of Mallory, and she hoped it would reset how people saw her. But it didn't work the way she hoped. Critics said they could still see Mallory in her performance. The film struggled, and audiences couldn't let go of her old image. That made everything worse. Auditions kept coming, but the outcome stayed the same. Casting directors refused to see past Mallory Keaton. It didn't matter how strong her performances were. They brushed her off as the dumb sister, and one project after another slipped away. She spent an entire year auditioning for shows that never even made it to air. It felt like belief in her had completely vanished. She had played the role too well, and Hollywood decided that was who she really was. In October 1992, she landed a role as a medical student named Marty Hiller in a TV thriller called Deadbolt. In the story, her character lets a man move in as a roommate, unaware that he's dangerous. Slowly, he takes control of her life, even locking her inside her own apartment. What made the role especially haunting was how close it felt to her real situation. Justine was famous because of family ties, but that fame had turned into a trap. Hollywood kept offering her the same types of roles: scared women, victims, characters with no power. She felt boxed in, like she couldn't breathe outside the image people forced on her. Then, in September 1996, she tried again to flip the script. She joined a sitcom called Men Behaving Badly and played Sarah, the girlfriend of one of the main characters. At first, things looked promising. The premiere pulled in nearly 15 million viewers, but behind the scenes, chaos ruled. Arguments over money, clashing egos, and tension filled the set. By the end of the first season in 1997, both Justine and her co-star walked away. The show barely made it into a second season before getting canceled. By the end of that same year, another door had slammed shut. She was still trying to escape the shadow of her earlier fame, still fighting to be seen as more than one character. And what came next in the mid-1990s would hurt even more than what she'd already endured. Her agents dropped a bomb on her. If she wanted to keep working, they said she needed plastic surgery. She had always aged naturally, but Hollywood decided that wasn't acceptable anymore. When she searched her own name online, the top suggestion staring back at her was, "Looks old," and that hit her hard. It crushed her confidence and made her question everything she saw in the mirror. For a moment, she wondered if they were right. Maybe she really did need to change her face just to survive in the industry. But deep down, something felt off, like a warning she couldn't ignore. She thought it through, sat with the fear, and even met with 3 different surgeons in Beverly Hills. Still, every step closer made her feel worse, not better. In the end, she walked away. Years later, she opened up about that moment in her 2021 book, Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin, calling it wrong and exposing how women are made to feel broken just for getting older. That choice flipped a switch inside her. She stopped staying quiet and started speaking out, refusing to erase herself just to make others comfortable. By 1999, acting offers had nearly dried up completely. Instead of waiting for permission, Justine took control. She used her family ties savings and stepped behind the camera. Directing wasn't glamorous or easy. She poured in her own money with no guarantee anyone would even care. But she kept going anyway. Years later, in 2017, her short film 5 Minutes premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. Then it screened again at Tribeca in 2018. It was only 10 minutes long, but it hit hard, breaking down human behavior and social tension in a way acting roles never let her do. For Justine, directing wasn't about attention or fame, it was about survival. If the industry wouldn't give her space, she would create her own. Then, in January 2001, something unexpected changed her life. She married Mark Fluent. He wasn't an actor or a musician. He worked in real estate, managing massive properties for Deutsche Bank. They had first met back in high school and reconnected during one of the darkest chapters of her life. Mark was steady, supportive, and grounded. He earned over $500,000 a year, and that financial stability gave Justine something she hadn't felt in years: freedom. She no longer had to chase auditions or smile for cameras just to survive. For the first time, she could breathe. She wasn't living for headlines anymore. She was living for herself. In June 2002, their son Duke was born, and with him came a decision that shocked Hollywood. Between 2002 and 2004, Justine turned down millions of dollars in acting offers. She didn't want her child growing up under the same spotlight that nearly destroyed her. She knew firsthand what early fame could do, and she refused to repeat that cycle. So she stepped away completely. No auditions, no interviews, no red carpets. She stayed home and protected her family. After working nonstop since 1982, this was the first real pause of her life. Many people assumed her career was finished, but for Justine, it felt like a reset. Then in January 2004, her daughter Janetta was born. But instead of joy, something darker followed. Justine fell into deep postpartum depression that lasted 8 long months. She barely recognized herself. She gained 40 pounds, couldn't sleep, and suffered panic attacks that made leaving the house feel impossible. At the same time, her brother Justine Bateman was experiencing a massive comeback with Arrested Development, winning praise and awards everywhere. While he was rising fast, Justine was struggling quietly, stuck in isolation and trying to fight her way back to herself without the cameras, without applause, and without anyone really seeing how hard it was. Therapy and medication helped her survive that period, but the contrast between her life and her brother's success was painful and impossible to ignore. While one was rising fast in the spotlight, the other was fighting quietly just to stay grounded. And that gap hurt more than words could explain. Then in 2012, something happened that shocked almost everyone. Justine Bateman, once the teenage face of Family Ties, walked into a UCLA classroom at 46 years old. The students around her were mostly teenagers, barely starting their lives, while she was rebuilding hers from the ground up. She wasn't there for nostalgia, attention, or fame. She enrolled in a demanding computer science and digital media program with one clear goal. She wanted to prove she could master something completely new, something difficult, something people never expected from her. Back in the 1980s, while she was playing Mallory Keaton, Paramount had shut that dream down fast. They told her she wasn't allowed to go to college because she was under contract, so she didn't. But decades later, she came back to finish what had been taken from her. It wasn't easy at all. She struggled with learning challenges and sat in classrooms filled with students half her age. Some looked at her like she didn't belong there. But while they were just starting their journeys, Justine was rewriting her entire story in real time. At the same time, she was still working in film and television. Every day meant juggling code, exams, and projects while building something totally new. In 2016, after 4 intense years, she graduated at age 50 with a real computer science degree. That moment shut down a lot of doubters instantly. In 2013, a year after starting school, she appeared in an episode of Modern Family. It could have led to more roles, more money, and another round of the same fame cycle, but she turned it down. She didn't want to be stuck reliving Mallory Keaton forever. At night, she still acted when it felt right. During the day, she wrote scripts, built apps, and even worked as a software engineering intern at Simtech. She learned Python and SQL while actively turning down acting offers that didn't align with who she was becoming. She was choosing freedom over fame, and she meant it. In 2015, she took another bold step and launched her own production company called Section 5. This wasn't just about making movies, it was about blending art and technology, using everything she had learned to tell stories in a new way. She began developing experimental short films like Z and 5 Minutes. 5 Minutes later, premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2017, proving she didn't need Hollywood's permission to be taken seriously. And that was only the start. In 2021, her first full-length feature film, Violet, premiered at SXSW. The film starred Olivia Munn, Justin Theroux, and Luke Bracey. But this wasn't just another project, it was deeply personal. The story explored fear, anxiety, and that quiet inner voice that tells people they're not enough. Justine had written the script back in 2011, but studios rejected it again and again, calling it too female-led. She didn't fold. She spent 18 months fighting to raise the money herself and got the film made anyway. And when it finally premiered, people showed up and listened. Earlier, in 2018, she had already pulled the curtain back with her book, Fame, the hijacking of reality. It wasn't polished or comforting. It was raw, direct, and honest, exposing what fame really took from her and how hard she fought to take herself back. She opened up about panic attacks, about losing her sense of self, and about the strange way fame can make you feel invisible even when everyone is watching. This wasn't gossip or drama-chasing headlines. It was raw truth. She described fame as something that takes pieces of you and never gives them back. Critics didn't brush it off either. Many called it one of the most honest books ever written by a former child star, and Mary Louise Parker praised it as eminently quotable. Then in 2021, something deeply personal hit again. She Googled her own name and saw a suggestion that stopped her cold. Justine Bateman looks old. It had first appeared years earlier when she was in her early 40s, and the sting never really faded. Instead of hiding or fixing herself, she flipped the moment into something powerful. She wrote a second book, Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin. She interviewed nearly 50 women about aging, beauty, and shame and made her stance clear. She refused to alter her face no matter how uncomfortable that made people feel. She said when she looked in the mirror, she didn't see what the internet claimed to see. She saw strength. The book took off fast and forced people to rethink beauty standards. In 2023, she appeared on 60 Minutes Australia and said something that stunned viewers everywhere. She explained, in plain terms, that she didn't care about chasing approval and that she thought she looked strong and confident just as she was. She openly shared that she had once considered procedures like eyelid surgery and a lower facelift, but chose not to go through with them. Her reason cut deep. She said if she changed her face, she would lose her authority. That moment spread everywhere online. Some people attacked her, others called her fearless, but she didn't back down for a second. Her words turned into a movement. She wasn't just aging naturally, she was standing up for every woman who had ever been told she needed to look younger just to matter. And she didn't stop there. With a real tech degree under her belt, she turned her focus to a new threat, artificial intelligence. In 2023, she founded Credo 23, a group demanding AI-free filmmaking. She warned that AI could wipe out real creativity in Hollywood. During the industry strikes, she showed up on the picket lines. She helped SAG-AFTRA understand the risks of AI, not just for actors, but for writers, editors, crews, and everyone behind the scenes. She even launched the Credo 23 Film Festival, where AI-generated content isn't allowed at all. She wasn't just talking about change, she was leading it. This fight wasn't only about the future, though, it was tied directly to her past. Back in 2017, her short film 5 Minutes earned serious critical praise and proved she could direct with purpose. Another short push gave her the momentum she needed to finally bring Violet to life. She rebuilt her career from the ground up. Short films became her proof. Investors believed in her because she delivered every time. She didn't ask for permission, she showed results. By November 2024, she had reached a breaking point. She wrote a bold piece for Fast Company saying what many were too afraid to say out loud. She declared that Hollywood, as it once existed, was dead. She argued that streaming and AI had hollowed it out, that studios now chased only massive blockbusters, and that real storytelling had been sacrificed for money. At the 2025 RAPS conference, she went even further. She warned that AI could replace entire departments and might even push actors out altogether. No one could dismiss her words. She had the education, the experience, and the courage to say it straight. Now, at 59, Justine Bateman stands for something far bigger than fame. She stands for truth. She stands for real aging. She stands for the power of starting over. She says every wrinkle on her face represents determination, creativity, and a life fully lived. When she walks into a room now, it's not about being young or fitting a mold. It's about saying, this is who I am. She's not fading away. She's not backing down. And somehow, after everything she's endured, she's only just getting started. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you felt something real, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.